banks do. So, we're very heavily driven towards the lending side at Gateway. I only have 16 employees. 11 of us are tied to lending. So that is definitely where the focus is. And three of those are business developers. The difference we have here on business development is the business developer, if they're the ones you've contacted, they will always be your primary point of contact. But they also will bring in a lender if it's a loan situation, or somebody from the deposit operations side if it's a cash management issue. So it's really the team getting to know you. So we've talked a lot about Gateway being the cheers of banking. It's like, hey, Norm, when you walk in, once you've been here once or twice, there's multiple people that are going to know you by name. Is most of the people that had front-facing contact with clients out here were pure business developers, which isn't a bad thing, but they weren't the folks who were going to be doing the loan write-ups. They weren't the ones that had the decision making behind it. And so a lot of people are like, well, hey, who's your lender? It's like, oh, here's my lender. So they're not really a lender. They're a business developer, which is fine, but they don't have that skill set. And, most of the calling personnel I've seen are strictly business development, and they're looking for quota. You're going to see them on the front end, and when they get that sale, and then you may or may not ever see them again. And in all honesty, until I came to Arizona, I never had pure business developers. We only worked with lenders. And, one of the things dealing with the community bank is you should be able to get to know either the chief credit officer or the CEO or both. And those folks are obviously sitting in on loan committee and are making the decisions. And you're like, okay, the person that's sitting here, I'm giving my pitch to, they actually are one that has a vote, or they're the ones that are making the full decision. So I do think it's worth interviewing. I think you ought to interview lenders. Lenders probably look at it as, hey, I'm calling on you. I'm going to interview you. Well, just throw it back and interview them instead. Do they have the knowledge of my industry? Is it a good culture fit? Do I like them? And, really to be with a good bank at that point, somebody that's going to work with you and walk you through the process. It's immeasurable how valuable that is to the company. At a community bank, we don't ever want to take property back. We don't want to take a business back. And it's, we're always working with you on how do we make sure that you're viable long-term? And if I can take care of you and you take care of me, you're going to be a client for a long, long time. In addition to going through what you might want to look for in a lender, you may also need to consider firing your existing banker. And if your banker's not part of the team, they're unengaged, doesn't have your attention, lacks ability or knowledge, it's always the right time to move. And I know it always feels painful to say, oh man, if I move my relationship and I move my checking and I've got all my auto debit set up and this is a pain. I just tell people, don't wait for the tough times. That's especially when you need that bank to be with. Pretty much always try to find at least one place in the presentation I can have at least one Snoop Dogg quote. And I was trying to find one that fit really well for a banking relationship, but it really, when I talked about firing your banker and really making change happen, and one of the quotes he has is, sometimes a loss is the best thing that can happen. It teaches you what you should have done next time. And I really do think I've seen people hang on to their bank just because it's maybe easier to leave or not as painful not to have to go through that process. To find the right lender and go with somebody that can scale you up, it is always the right time.